Welcome to Finance Friends with Fabian, where we give our listeners an opportunity to be a part of our conversation with financial services industry leaders. Hear their stories, the challenges they've overcome, and the invaluable advice they have for anyone interested in the financial world. Keep up to date with us by following Finance Friends Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Welcome to Finance Friends with Fabian, and today we have the wonderful Peter Vlachos. Peter, tell me a bit about yourself.
Hi, Fabian. Thanks for having me. What do you want to know, Fabian? What do you want to know?
Well, I know you've got 3 kids, is that right?
Yes.
With the relatively newborn. How old's the youngest one?
She's 1.
She's 1, and the 2 boys, how old are they?
8 and 6. So, yeah, my household is quite chaotic.
Chaotic, yeah. And recently finished renovations as well.
Yes.
Full-time job, young family.
Yep.
Keeping busy. How do you do it?
Don't know, mate. I just... never give up, mate. It's probably
never give up. Resilience.
Yeah, it's resilience, no doubt. And I have a great wife. There's no doubt about that. She keeps the household together.
That's important.
Absolutely. It was a difficult year. I'll tell you that, though. You know, having a newborn, going through renovation, moving in.
Yeah.
3 kids, but we got there.
Yeah, awesome. And tell us about your career. So maybe let's start with, what did you study at university? Did you go to university?
Yeah, I did. I went to RMIT.
And what did you study?
I studied Bachelor of Business in Financial Planning. So initially, actually, I was doing economics and finance. Yeah. Initially in the first year, and then I thought, what's economics and finance going to get me into? And then I decided, let's do financial planning. And so, I ended up doing financial planning, thinking the career path of becoming a planner.
Yeah. So I want to touch on from there, what did you do? Like, where did you go? Because getting your first job out of university is quite challenging. A lot of people I see that will study finance, financial planning, and never end up in the field. So what was your first job out of university? First professional job?
Yeah. It started actually, so I'll run back. So during the university, the 3rd year of my degree was a co-op year, so you had to go out and work. And lucky enough, I had a great relationship with one of my lecturers, Maggie Stefan. Yeah. He's actually got 2 sons in the industry. Yeah. And he referred me to a practice called Strategic Financial Solutions down in Albert Park, and with Kay Aarons. And so I did a year there. I did so well, she gave me a job. That's how I got in. Yeah, so I was a power planner at the start, then slowly became a financial planner, and then it's led me into a senior distribution manager today.
Yeah, so talk about your current role. So you work at Elston
Asset Management.
Asset Management. So they're an asset management firm based out of Brisbane but have a national presence. So maybe let's just make it a bit simple. What's your title and what do you actually do?
Yeah, so look, a senior distribution manager for Elston Asset Management, like you mentioned. They're based in Brisbane. I'm predominantly based here in Melbourne. I look after Victoria and Tasmania. So my main duty is to distribute the investments and funds that we have on offer to financial planners. That's my main duty.
Yeah, fantastic. And that is across all asset classes, or do you specialise in a specific asset class?
Yeah, so we are Aussie equity specialists. So we have a large cap strategy, a small cap strategy, and then probably what we're renowned for is our multi-asset strategy, where we do the whole portfolio for clients from a risk-based profile.
Yeah, fantastic. And how long have you been in this current role with Elston?
Probably, I think it's just over 2 years.
Just over 2 years.
But it feels like I've been there a long time.
Well, you've had some exceptional results and helped grow the business.
Yes, absolutely. Especially here, like when I first started in Victoria, not many people knew who Elston was.
Yeah.
But today it's more of a household name, I'd like to say, in the financial services industry now.
Yeah, you've done a great job to help build a brand and promote the business. So what does your day-to-day look like in a senior distribution manager role for Elston Asset Management? What do you do on a day-to-day basis? Talk me through your typical day, if there was such a thing in your role.
No day is the same, I would have to say. No day is the same. But I actually do that intentionally. I actually control my diary, which is fantastic. I'm a bit of a lone wolf as well. I'm here on my own. However, like day to day, a Monday would be based like a Teams meeting, an investment update. Then I'd be getting ready for the week ahead.
Yep.
looking at the past as well. Make sure I did all my follow-ups in the previous week.
Yeah.
I'd also be looking at booking appointments for the following week. Then probably Tuesday to Friday will be a mixture.
Yep.
It will be some prospect meetings, some new opportunities. Might even mean I might even have a PM here, portfolio manager, or an investment specialist, and that might mean doing a one-to-many session over a lunch, or over or a peer group session. There'll also be a peer-to-peer networking I might even do, catch up over coffee. So look, no day is the same, or no week's the same, and that's probably one of the things that I love about my job.
Fantastic. And what would be what would you attribute to your success? What are the key skills to being a successful distribution manager in funds management? What are the key skills required?
I'd have to say communication skills is probably the biggest key. Communication, networking is really important. Getting to know a lot of people in the financial services industry.
Yeah. So ability to build relationships.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've built some great relationships over the years. I've even got some I consider friends. Our kids play together. Yeah. Some financial advisors and my kids and their kids. So, look, it is communication skills, being the ability to build and maintain relationships, and being reliable and honest. Especially it depends what field you're in, I reckon, more so. Especially you always got to be reliable and honest, no doubt. Yeah. But being a platform BDM or an insurance BDM, you need to be reliable because sometimes there's a lot of time critical stuff involved there. Yeah. So
be available and be relied upon where you can provide the service that you said you were going to provide.
Absolutely. Otherwise, word spreads fast in the industry.
Yeah.
So your reputation's on the line. So
definitely. And you're nothing without a good reputation.
Correct.
No, that's really good. And what do you most enjoy about your job?
I'm always meeting new people, and I love that.
Yeah.
Meeting new people, and like I mentioned earlier, no day's the same. Yeah. No day is the same. And the other great thing about our industry is financial markets. They're constantly changing.
Yeah, that's
true.
So
you're always talking about something new all the time.
And history doesn't always repeat itself too.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all.
Yeah, otherwise the Liberians would be the best fund managers. And obviously you're very successful in your career. So you went from working in financial planning to you worked at A&P for a little bit. Well, not a little bit, for an extended period of time.
Yeah, I did.
So talk to me about your time, because I want to work out if someone wants to be working as a senior distribution person or a salesperson or relationship manager for a fund manager, investment fund manager, how do you get there? So you started at RMIT studying, did financial planning, then you moved worked for a financial planning firm.
Yeah.
Then you went to, talk to me about how you went from working in a financial planning firm to being in a funds management sales role. What did you do in between? What were the steps to get to where you are?
Yeah, look, I've had a few roles along my few decades now, it feels like. But look, I went to RMIT, got a job as a paraplanner during that co-op year and continued. Ended up becoming a financial planner, doing late night appointments. Met a lot of BDMs during that time as well.
Yeah, so BDM is a business development manager, which is similar to a distribution manager.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Correct. And I ended up at AXA as a phone-based BDM.
Yeah, okay.
And that's when I realised I probably wanted to become a face-to-face BDM.
So when you say a phone-based BDM, what were you selling and who were you selling to?
Yeah, so I was based in Melbourne and I was looking after advisors in Sydney. So I was like a second BDM to the face-to-face BDM in New South Wales. Yeah. So they'll look after the A's and B advisors and I'll look after the C's and D's.
So when you say C's and D's, maybe the lower sort of revenue generating advisors.
Correct. Well, the ones that had, lower funds under management with us or premiums in force.
Yeah. So were you selling, what were you selling in?
Back then I was insurance funds and platform. So holistic BDMs, which you don't really see so much these days.
No.
So the cycle has changed. It's more specialist roles these days.
Yeah. So you went from being a phone-based BDM to how long were you in that role for?
Can't remember, probably about 3 to 4 years.
Oh, wow.
3-4 years. I ended up winning BDM of the year, phone-based BDM of the year.
Congratulations.
And then I got promoted to a face-to-face BDM after a very probably after a few restructures that occurred in AMP.
Because
I was working
AMP
at AXA.
acquired AXA, is that right?
Correct.
Just for a bit of transparency.
Yeah, correct. So I initially worked for AXA, then AMP took over.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a long career at AMP, just over a decade.
Yeah. So you went then to a in-person BDM, still selling insurance platform funds?
Correct.
Yeah. And then from there you moved to Elston Asset Management.
Yeah. So probably just before I left AMP, I was a BDM taking care of the North platform.
Yeah.
And then managed portfolios, which are known as separate managed accounts.
Yeah. Which is a lot of what you focus on at the moment. Is that right? At Elston, providing a multi-asset solution for financial advisors to provide to their clients.
Correct. Spot on, Fabian. The great thing about Elston, though, as well, is we're not a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
So we'd have that multi-asset, which is probably where 90% of the flows go. But we have a large cap, small cap strategy. We have philanthropic services as well, which is structured giving, which is becoming more and more popular within our industry, which is great to see.
Yeah.
So it's not a there's a lot of tools in the toolkit.
Yeah, you have a lot of offerings for advisors that you speak to, and they're ultimately who look after their clients and service their clients.
Correct.
So what advice would you give to anyone that wants to become a salesperson for an investment firm or a distribution person? Sales in this country is not always
it's not very well
perceived well. But anyway.
Unlike the USA, where it's all about selling.
Yeah, exactly.
ABC.
Yeah.
Well, definitely, it's not like Wolf of Wall Street, my day to day. I can tell you that. However, I think communication skills I mentioned earlier, but network. Get to know as many people as possible in the industry.
Yeah.
And that way, you have a larger network, get to know people. Probably another thing I'd say is, once you get your foot in the door, is don't take things personally.
Yeah.
A good manager of mine back at AMP, actually I'll mention him, Mark Pildage, he taught me early, don't take things personally. And I think that is a key in our role, because you need to be resilient. You're going to have doors shut on you. Yeah. So you've got to be ready for that. And the other thing I'd say is activity.
Yeah.
You're going to have a target.
Yeah.
I know some people won't believe this, but I actually try my best not to look at my target. I try my best not to see how I'm tracking. I just focus on the activity, and everything else will fall in place.
Focus on the input, not the output.
Correct.
Focus on the input, not the result.
Yeah, correct.
And I always tell people, know who your target, sales 101, know who your target market is. Activity times by your target market will get you results.
Absolutely. And look, and in fairness, you're going to have a year where it's going to be rough, but focus on the activity, and the following year, that will pay dividends.
Yeah, don't be short-sighted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Not everything gets an ROI, return on investment, from every meeting.
Absolutely.
And you talk about networking, and that's really important, because that's ultimately my job.
Yeah.
Is to meet people, is to connect people. Now, one thing that really sort of frustrates me when I meet people that want to be a funds management BDM and they're maybe an associate level role now. And I say, okay, what networking events do you go to? Or, who have you proactively met with? Oh, that's not my job.
Yeah. No,
well, okay, it's not your job now, but if that's what you want to start acting the job you're in before you're in that job. But also, if it's not your job now, don't you want to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly, you don't want to do that, I say.
Yeah. Well, mate, if you're going to set yourself some goals, you've got to achieve it. You've got to do the activity.
Yeah.
Even if it is late at night and you go to a dealer group event, you're going to meet a lot of people. It's funny enough, I actually went to one last week and I met some associates that were there who I didn't know, so it was good to see that. Yeah. It's the next generation stepping up.
Yeah. And that's what we do, and I'll talk a little bit about myself, and I haven't touched on this in the podcast yet, with the FAAA, Financial Advice Association of Australia. I'm a committee member for the Melbourne chapter.
Fantastic.
And focus on Gen Next community, so Generation Next that can go into advice, and organising these events for people to come to and learn from other professionals and to network with your peer group. And it's amazing, these events that are super cheap, normally well-funded or sponsored by partners of the industry, and yet trying to get people to these events is like pulling teeth out.
You reckon?
like, yeah.
The grand final event, that was the lunch. That was huge.
Well, that's different because that's targeted to more your senior people. I'm talking these events specifically for junior people in the industry for networking and learning. And there's just a mindset around, well, that's not my job today, so why would I do that?
They should definitely. If you want to get into your future role, you got to be doing that.
Exactly right.
There's no doubt. Who knows? You might even meet your next gig. You might meet someone.
Exactly. You might meet me. Stay away. No, I'm joking. No, that's really insightful. So what's been the biggest? So you've had a very successful career to date, right? You're still obviously a very young guy, but you've had a successful career and driving some really exceptional results with your current firm, your current role. So what setbacks have you had in your career? You talk about like the skills required and I guess understanding like key skills to to be successful and not take things personally, as you said.
Yeah, you got to be resilient.
Resilient, right? So talk to me about any setbacks you've had where you've had to be resilient.
Look, I've had a few setbacks, but the most difficult time was when I was at a BDM at A&P, no doubt, during the Royal Commission. I don't think you'll find a more resilient BDM than an A&P BDM during that time. There is no doubt. It was difficult with the constant headlines, explaining what was going on to your clients. Then there were sexual harassment cases in the headlines, and shortly after, A&P advisors lost their valuations or decreased.
Yeah.
So it was a very difficult time, I'd have to say, but it built resilience. And from that, I got stronger relationships, within my network and also with my clients. So look, definitely that was definitely the toughest time for me.
Yeah.
And look, it was really good as well because I actually had a good network of each A&P BDM, including Dario.
So Dario is Sienna's dad, who
Yes,
Sienna helps run the podcast.
Yeah.
Sienna Bartolomeo, and Dario Bartolomeo, who's
he was still at A&P, but we used to speak on a daily basis. Just what's going on, how you're feeling. It was like a mental health check on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So credit to him. He helped me through that stage, and I'm sure I helped him as well. But look, it was a tough time, but it was also one for me where I didn't want to give up. I'm not a person that will give up on, when things get tough. So I wanted to, go through that situation. Some other people may have found it difficult and, want to move on very quickly. But, I was one that said, I'm going to stick through this. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And there was. There was light in the tunnel. But, I know it's still lurking around.
Yeah.
But, I found another opportunity and I took that afterwards.
No, fantastic. It's like my footy coach used to say when I was a kid, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. No, thank you for sharing that. So obviously we've spoken a lot about your business, talking a lot about your role. Maybe share something that other listeners might, or people that might not know about you. Something a bit more person. Who's you? What do you do in your spare time? Who do you follow in the footy?
Footy. Let's not go there. I go for the Bombers.
The Bombers?
Yeah.
Are they still in the AFL?
Yeah, they are. It hasn't been great ever since the drug saga. But, look, probably one thing a lot of people wouldn't know is in my early 20s, I was actually a natural bodybuilder. I got involved in that, I won Mr. Victoria, came third in Australia. And, I know it's hard to believe when you look at me now.
Oh, no, you're still
But, look, that's obviously something that a lot of people don't know, but
How did you get to a point where you say, you know what, I'm going to be so determined to be the most ripped person in Victoria and come third in national championships to how did you come there? Who was the biggest influence in your life that maybe drove that in you, that determination? Now, from my understanding, you come from a Greek background, so I don't know if that's relevant, but also how resilient you are today. Who's the biggest influence in your life?
Look, from a career and life, there's many people. I've had some great managers over the years, there's no doubt. But the biggest influence in my life, and I reckon the person wouldn't know because our relationship has changed over the years, would be my father.
Yeah.
Definitely my dad. There's no doubt about it. He got me involved in investments a little bit as well.
Yeah, okay.
So my dad, I'll tell you actually, I could tell you, talk about it all day actually. Yeah. He started a share portfolio for me when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I even spoke to his broker from time to time. So he got my interest involved in investments. There's no doubt from an early age. He also, funny, look, he probably not so diversified. He had a few stock. I think he bought CBA when it was $10.
Yeah.
When
Hope
it first
he still holds it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's sold them now. He's in retirement. He's about 85. But actually, what helped him in retirement was he worked for a company called Solar Turbines.
Okay.
And he was owned by Caterpillar, the earth movers, which everyone knows.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, he was offered buy 2 shares, get 1 free.
Okay.
And like a guy that had no education, like in investments or background, he decided to salary sacrifice into it.
Yeah.
He just thought it was a great deal.
Yeah, of course.
And those stocks in the 90s were just going up and up. They even split it. So that really funded his retirement. But my dad had I think my resilience and, the concept and mindset of not giving up probably stems from him.
Yeah.
My dad, he was actually born in Egypt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So he was born in Egypt in Alexandria.
Yeah.
Unfortunately he had a tough childhood. His father died when he was about 7.
Oh, wow.
He fell down a set of stairs, marble stairs that had been polished. And my dad was right next to him. He was holding his hand.
Shit.
So fortunately my father saw my granddad pass away, like in his arms.
Yeah.
But he grew up pretty quickly. So, I think he was about 7 or 8 years old when that happened. He had he had a younger brother, younger sister at the time, who later passed away at a younger age as well. But he became the father figure of the family.
Yeah.
Very quickly. He had an Uncle Michael, who taught him how to fish. And Alexandria is very close to the beach. I lived literally on the beach. And his Uncle Michael taught him how to catch octopus, squid and fish. And before you knew it, my dad was feeding the family from the sea. So, just hearing how my dad went through all that in his early life. He met my mum in Cairo. They got married in Cairo. My older sister was born in Cairo. Then they moved to Australia.
Yeah.
But just knowing what my dad went through really has stemmed in my mindset is you just don't give up, no matter how tough it gets.
Yeah.
And I say that to my kids. No matter how tough things get, just never give up.
Just keep pushing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's where my resilience and perseverance to achieve my goals stems from. There's no doubt.
Wow, that's very touching. And it sort of I come from my parents are both migrants, and my grandfather, who late grandfather I should say, he was moved. He lost his father when he was 10 years old, and he started working from the age of 10 to help support the family. And when they moved to Australia, he would work 18 hours on the building the rail lines out in country Victoria and sleep in a tent just so he could save money, rather than sleep in a tent for 6 hours just so he could save money and give it back to the family rather than staying in a hotel room. So there's that real resilience, and there's a lot of talk around whether this generation has resilience because everything's been given to them. But I think resilience is a skill that it's something that we look for when we hire people. Do you have the resilience when it gets tough? Can you keep pushing, or will you actually just give up and go for the next best option?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think it's an important aspect to have.
Yeah.
And like you said, like the generation today is a lot different to our parents' generation. Talking about my father, when he did come to Australia, he was living with his brother, their 2 wives, their kids, all in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
You don't hear that happening much today.
No, not at all. But no, thank you. It was really good to have you in the studio today.
My pleasure.
Peter, thank you. We've known each other for a few years now and become really good friends, and you shared really good insight around your current role and how you got to where you are today. And also,
truthfully, I wouldn't have got the role without you, actually, because you're the one who put me forward, didn't you?
That is true. That is true. And you know what? I think Mr. Mark Smith's pretty happy with that because you're doing an exceptional job. But
no doubt.
Thank you for coming in. Really appreciate having you in and sharing your story about how you got to where you are today and what you do. And resilience, obviously, key topic that we key trade or topic that we discussed, and how important that is. So for our listeners, it's going to get hard at times. just look forward and just keep
Correct.
moving. But thank you, Peter. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Fabian. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Disclaimer. This podcast exists for informational and entertainment purposes only. The personal opinions of the speaker and guests do not represent the view of any other party. If this recording contains reference to financial products, that reference does not constitute advice nor recommendations and may not be relied upon.